Hi guys, my name is Miles, your host, and you're tuning in at Xraised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. Now, if you've ever been in a meeting where the smartest person in the room just couldn't seem to get their point across, you're gonna want to stick around for this one, because we've invited back a guest who's proof that success isn't just about the resources you start with. It's about the resourcefulness you build along the way. From overcoming a congenital heart defect and language barriers as a young immigrant to graduating from the University of Pennsylvania's prestigious Huntsman program to launching not just one, but two very different businesses, a hedge fund and a preschool group. He's mastered the art of transferring skills across worlds that seem nothing alike. He's now a board director, global investor, author of the book Breaking the Glass Ceiling, and the founder of the Institute for Greatness, where he helps high achieving professionals reinvent their careers, lead authentically, and inspire others to do the same. So here's one of my favorite storytellers, a portfolio careerist, public speaker, and leadership coach, Anthony Che. Hi, Anthony. How
Hey,
are
Miles. Great. I'm doing excellent.
That's good. It's always a treat to have you on the show, Anthony. And today we're diving into a topic that might surprise a lot of people, that even professionals with over 20 years of experience still struggle with communication and presence in high stakes situations. So let's start with the elephant in the boardroom. Why do so many high level professionals, even after decades of experience, still struggle with executive presence or basic communication in moments that matter most?
Thank you for that first question. It's a great way to start up this conversation because it reminds me of myself. I was in that position. I hope I'm no longer in that position. I have gotten
You're
reviews.
not, I assure you.
I have gotten reviews that I lack executive presence, not a good communicator. So I can empathize with that, and hopefully I've gone through the transformation journey to now share some of my insights.
Mhm.
I think it's important to first understand why or how we become executives or successful uh, senior professionals in the first place. Because in the workplace, we were trained to deliver results. And these results usually have to do with KPIs or make money. And over the years, as we deliver on those KPIs, we get promoted, we get a more senior title, we get more money. And with that comes authority. Sometimes we then confuse or we misinterpret authority and title with influence or presence. For example, we deal with a lot of external vendors. External vendors will work with us,
Mhm.
but they actually work with us because they work with the company, not necessarily because of me. But then executives, we feel like, hey, people all want to work with me, so and they don't find an issue with that. Even though at the end it's not you as individuals, sometimes it's because of the business or the platform that you're associated with. Then the other thing is over the years, as we become more senior, 20, 30 years into our careers, we present, we communicate with an audience that listens to us.
Yeah.
Often not necessarily because they want to listen to us, but it's because of our title. They don't have a choice. So
Mhm.
again, mentally, we feel like, hey, we have all this. We have people listening to us. We have people who want to work with me. And so we never actually think about the need to connect with people because that was never the key determinant to how we got to where we are, right? To get to that senior title.
Yeah.
But then when you deal with your peers or your superiors, this whole title, this whole authority goes away because now the people who are more senior to you, they will think, well, I only want to listen to you because it's worth my time, not because I have to. And that's usually when a lot of the, I would say, pain points surfaces. It's
Yeah.
because of that observation and the feedback from the senior level.
Mhm.
So as for me as a coach, I have a few clients where the company reached out to me and they'll tell me, wow, we have this senior executive. They're amazing at what they do. They've made a lot of money for us,
Mhm.
but they're just not great communicators. They don't have a great presence. Please help us with that. Usually, what that means would be from a communication perspective is they could be too abrasive, too
Mhm.
verbose, they speak too quickly, or in general, they just don't exude a positive vibe. either when they represent the company or when they are dealing with people. So yeah, that's kind of my high level answer to your first question.
And thank you. I was actually pretty surprised that you were one of them. You experienced these things as well, Anthony, because you're really good at this. And as I've said earlier, you're one of my favorite storytellers. I mean, with all the podcasts that we recorded, I always like listening to you. And this is just a great reminder that expertise doesn't automatically translate into influence. And sometimes the more we know, the harder it is to make it simple for others to follow. And when leaders are told to speak up or slow down by their peers or even their bosses, Anthony, what's really being said between the lines? I mean, is it just a
Mm,
volume and pace, or is there something deeper at play?
yeah, another good question, because I have a few clients who come to me for exactly that, is that their bosses are telling me to either speak up or slow down.
Yeah.
And they start to wonder, like, oh my God, what's really going on?
Uh-huh.
Well, firstly is it's actually not a bad thing, because it shows that their peers or superiors are paying attention to them to
Mhm.
actually pick up on this. And in my situation, my clients actually approach me because the company is thinking of promoting these people to be even more senior, potentially even C-suite. So instead of like a regional head, to be a C-suite. And now they just say, again, is this guy's great at what they do. They make a lot of money, but please work on other aspects. So they know this guy is qualified. But when it comes to, say, a specific term, when they say, oh, please speak up, usually it's about, I would say, working on your confidence as well. I'm
Mhm.
not trying to say that everybody who doesn't speak up means they lack confidence, because sometimes it's better not to speak. It's better to listen.
Uh-huh.
But if this happens a lot, usually it's also working on their confidence.
Mhm.
And the reason why that happens is because we, as the executive who's afraid to speak up, is there are certain expectations that they might be too lofty. They feel, oh, if I say something, what if people judge me? What if they think I'm just not smart enough?
Uh-huh.
I'm actually not as good as what people think. So it's better not to speak up,
Mhm.
right? So it's about breaking down the barrier to, okay, speaking up, confidence, and meeting expectations.
Yeah.
So that's the first aspect. Second is also speaking up often also ties with, okay, well, you need to help the company project a certain image, uh,
Branding.
and that, yeah, right, and so that has to translate into some kind of speaking up. Again, not to confuse with just speaking too much. So that is a balance to strike. It's when to speak up, how to speak up effectively, and not trying to take over a conversation.
Mhm.
So then the other point is then on when you say like speak up or slow down. Usually, it's also because you can say this person doesn't really know how to pause. So like slowing down could be, I'm just going to go out and just use this 10 minutes of time and just throw everything out there.
Uh-huh.
But to pause in between is actually a very powerful tool, but not many people can master it. I'm still trying to practice it,
I
because to pause for, say, 10 seconds, like right now, if I just stare at you for 10 seconds,
feels kind of weird, right?
it's weird, but it's very powerful,
Mm.
especially when it comes to addressing a much larger audience, not just one on one. Not because not everybody can digest and listen at the same pace.
Right.
And pauses usually allows people to make a strong statement, right? And then you pause, audience can digest and think about it. So the slowing down part usually is, yeah, practice pauses, and also could be just being a little bit more. They will usually think that this person could be a bit monotone,
Mhm.
because yeah, if you speak too fast, nonstop, like just rapid firing,
Mhm.
same tone, then people also feel like, man, can this person just slow down a bit, because
Uh-huh.
I can't really tell the difference between this sentence and that
The other
sentence.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those are a little bit of the nuances that goes underneath some of the surface level remarks.
Mhm. Right. That's such a very important point, Anthony. What sounds like casual feedback is often pointing to a much bigger gap in how people perceive us versus how we think we're coming across. So,
Mm.
in your coaching work, now I try to pause.
Yeah, not easy.
It's so hard. It's so weird. But what patterns have you noticed that make someone technically brilliant, yet still ineffective when it comes to influence, clarity, or presence?
Yes. So again, this is very common. People who are brilliant, technically savvy,
Mhm.
naturally are not great communicators or exude great presence. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody. Again, I'm in the same. I was in the same boat, and hopefully, I'm better at that now.
You are.
And it's because just understanding human anatomy is that we have two sides of the brain. Left side is more analytical. Right side is for EQ, soft skills, right? And so we usually for our work and even from schooling, from the early days, we're trained more on the left side, which is the analytical side,
Yes.
not so much on the emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
Which, if you think about a metaphor, it's like training your arms, right? Even train your arm, there's a bicep and tricep. So just train your arm doesn't mean that naturally you will have, you know, defined biceps or triceps. Depends on which part of the arm you're training. Not to mention, some people are much stronger in the left arm versus the right arm,
Dominant.
right? So yeah, it's same as your brain, right? And so because of that, people who are very analytically savvy, they just didn't have the practice or the training for the right side of the brain,
Mhm.
right? Which then ties into communication and presence because that's more soft skills. So that's actually very, very natural. The point then is when for a lot of these analytical people, including myself, I'm definitely a lot more analytical and logical by training, is that we think about things as if A, then B, if B, then C, and then D, right? But if you tell us like, oh, if A instead of B now is F, we're like, what? That makes no sense to me. It's not logical.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it's kind of like we kind of break down, right?
Okay.
But when you talk about the pattern, it is exactly that pattern that we need to break. It's the idea that life is not always binary and it's not about always being logical, right? Because if you think about communication and presence, a lot of this is dynamic. Uh, right? A lot of it depends on the situation, and often there is no logic to it. Okay, so that is something that, yeah, it's important to break that mindset.
Mhm.
Uh, but the beauty of that is once you break that mindset, it is something that can be practiced over time, right? So executive presence, being more effective communicator. Yeah, once you have the framework and also reframe your mindset that I'm here to connect with people. I'm not here just to deliver on a KPI because that's how I get promoted. Then the techniques to becoming a more effective leader, effective communicator, better executive presence, that can be practiced and
Mhm.
perfected.
Yeah. Well, that really resonates, Anthony. And I like what you said. I'm here to connect with people, not just for the sake of delivering my message. And I think we've all worked with someone whose slides were flawless, but they would leave the room wondering, wait, what was the point again?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. And now, Anthony, traditional leadership programs often focus on frameworks, models, and tools, but where do they fall short in helping leaders actually shift those deeply ingrained communication habits?
Mm. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that in the previous question, which is before we focus on the techniques and the framework, it's important to focus on the mind because ultimately it's the mindset that will lead to certain actions, and it's the action that will then, when you repeat it over time, becomes habits, right?
Yes.
So one question I often ask my coachees who fall into this space is that what is your ultimate purpose when it comes to, say, getting on a stage or communicating? Is it to go through a PowerPoint presentation in the given time? And so the point is to jam as much information in there as possible to show that you're very knowledgeable,
Ah.
right? And often that actually is what their mind is telling them. Yes, that is exactly my job, right? Um, versus, have you ever thought about what does the audience truly want, right? What is the key message you want the audience to remember you by? And then what is the call to action, right? Like, what you're going to say in the next 10, 15 minutes going to make a difference to them or allow them to think about the status quo differently? Okay, so that's another question that I asked them, right? Uh, so another example would be, I mean, you and I have been to a lot of these talks and listen to people speak, right?
Mhm.
And then I would ask my clients, like, do you think that what you're about to do 3 years later, people will remember you for getting on stage and go through an 80 page PowerPoint in 30 minutes, or something that is very simple with pauses that will cause the audience to think deeply or change their perspective,
Mhm.
right? So once I bring that up, then people kind of reflect and be like, yeah, it's not always about content. And everybody says, yes, I know it's always quality over quantity. But at the end, people always think about somehow it's quantity, right? Because it goes back to that's how we were programmed. We can't go up on stage and present to the team, including senior management, with 2 slides or 3 slides because people would think, come on, this guy's been slacking off the whole time. What's wrong with him? I got to go out there with 40 slides to show that I've been working really hard or my team has been working really hard, right? So again, that's a change in mindset. And I know that a lot of what I just said may not be applicable to business meetings because not every business meeting is going to change someone's life or cause the listener to think about different, to have a certain call to action, right? But at least plant that seed into your head and
Mhm.
ask those questions to yourself, right? Uh, and if at the end you ask those questions, and yeah, at the end it's a pure business meeting, I got to go through an investment memo or something, right?
Yeah,
So it's okay, but at least you kind of put that into context. But the key is to think about what's in it for the audience, what's in it for your team, rather than what's in it for you. Which is, it's not about just going up there and using up the airtime and then just get off stage as quickly as possible and say, oh, I did my job. That was my KPI check done.
yeah, right. Well, that's really tricky. And, there are a lot of questions to answer, as you said, before you actually get to the point. Like, how could they keep the audience engaged and make them interested to actually listen, but not forgetting my main goal to deliver or share my message? And the knowledge is there, but the behavior doesn't follow without real practice and coaching. That's why they need you. So, if you could snap your fingers, Anthony, and embed just one mindset shift into every seasoned leader you work with, what would it be and how would that change the way they
Mm.
show up in the room?
One mindset shift that I believe is quite effective is throw away your title, rip up your business card, and
Okay.
think about if you were to go to a setting where nobody knows you, nobody knows how much money you have, how senior you are,
Uh-huh.
and just be as authentic as you can be.
Mhm.
Because authenticity, I believe, is the only thing that can be long term and repeatable,
I agree.
right?
Mhm.
So then, how can you then, yeah, manifest executive presence and communicate with people and connect with them in such a setting,
Mhm.
right? And then think about what you need to do for these people, for them to pay attention to you, for them to remember you. And ultimately is, I mean, this whole point about executive presence and communication is why do people want to follow you?
Mhm.
And it's very different when you throw away your title. And maybe just give a personal experience in this, right? It's so after becoming a public speaker, I learned a lot more about this topic as well on communication and presence because now nobody is going to come and choose to listen to me unless they want to,
Mhm.
because I don't have a title to throw at them, be like, hey, you got to come and show up, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's I got to think about like, why would people pay to show up? And then on top of that, commit their valuable time to
Yeah.
listen to me,
Correct.
right? And not once, if I want to do it again and again, is yeah, like how would people walk away thinking like, oh, okay, Anthony delivered this message. It caused me, as the questions I posed earlier, like how did I change their perspective? What did I cause them to do differently or ponder about certain topics differently, right? And
Mhm.
it's because of that, if they can answer that question, it leads to an answer that they feel like, you know what? Yeah, he did have some kind of impact. So I want to go back and listen to his talk again, even though it could be about a different topic, right?
Mhm.
And again and again. And so these are things I need to think about as a
Yeah.
public speaker, right? And just because I threw away my title, I'm nothing, and be like, yeah, please come and invest your time and money into this. So
Mhm.
I think that is actually a very um, good transformation for me. And having gone through this, I think that's a very uh, useful technique.
Mhm. And I like how you pinpoint that scenario, Anthony. Time is really valuable, so we shouldn't waste it. I mean, basically, I like that mindset going back to basics from scratch, resetting, and throwing away the biases because it's not just about being heard, it's about being remembered for the right reasons. And as usual, this conversation has been a masterclass in something we often overlook, that communication is a leadership multiplier. No matter how long you've been in the game, your voice still needs training if you want it to carry weight in the moments that matter. So, thank you so much again, Anthony, for sharing your insights and a bit of that mindset magic with us today again.
No, thank you for having me here again. Really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure, Anthony. So, if you guys are thinking that's me, people tune out when I speak, or maybe I know my work is good, but I'm not getting noticed, Anthony can definitely help you change that. Go find out more at ifgreatness.com now. And that's it for this episode of X-Rays. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for another conversation with Anthony that raises the bar and hopefully your career. This has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with X Raised.